Hi, Nikki. So you're the CEO of Bubble Map, which is one of my favorite tools to do on-chain analysis. And I think everyone should pay attention to Bubble Map because it can be the clue that the key that gives you everything to know if you can invest or not in a project. But I would like you to first explain what is Bubble Map, like if you were explaining to my grandma.
To your grandma. All right, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, Antoine. It's a pleasure to talk to a fellow Frenchman, even though we're talking in English today for the audience. And I appreciate your kind comments. I think also Bubble Map should be on everyone's list before investing into a token, at least to make sure there is no suspicious activity going on the token you're investing. Now, if I were to invest to explain, to pitch to your grandma, I would say that Bubble Map is a fun and interactive way to explore blockchain data. I personally believe that on-chain data deserves more love because it is the blood of the crypto system. And it is unfortunately overlooked because traditional analytics are too complex, intimidating. And with Bubble Maps, we gamify on-chain data for everyone. Now, if I were to be more specific, I would say that Bubble Maps allow you to understand the supply of a token in a very clear and easy way. Because usually what you do if you want to jump in the tokenomics of a token, you look at the holders and you look at the transfers and you don't even know where to begin. But with Bubble
Mhm.
Maps, we represent the network of holders and how they're connected. Each bubble is going to be a holder, and if bubbles are linked, it means the wallets have sent each other funds, meaning the wallets know each other. And if they know each other, you have to understand why. Is this an employer paying the employee? Are those VCs receiving tokens? Are those insiders? They can be multiple interpretations. So
Mm.
essentially with Bubble Maps, you can see the behind the scenes of a token.
Can you share the screen to show us how it is? Because if we say a picture is worth 1,000 words, 1,000 words, I guess a screen sharing is about 10,000 or million words. So you can see like on the token what it's like and then maybe explore one.
Absolutely, let's do it. As a starter, I want to keep it simple, short and sweet, and show you Uniswap on Ethereum. We're going to start on Ethereum, but I know for a fact that we're going to bridge to Solana very quickly because this is our common battlefield, the two of us. But let me start with Uni. So Uni is the governance token of Uniswap. And what you can see on screen here is the bubble map of Uni, which, as I said, shows the network of holders and how they're connected. So each bubble is a holder of Uni. The bigger the bubble, the more token you own, the more Uni you own. So you can see this is the number 2 holder, this is the number 5 holder, this is number 7. The smaller the bubble, the lower the ranking, which makes sense.
Got it.
But the
Yeah.
best part is, if bubbles are linked, it means the wallets have sent each other tokens, whether it is Ethereum or USDC or USDT or Uni, and you can toggle which kind of transfer you want to see. Here you're only seeing Ethereum transfers between the holders of Uni. And in this scenario, there are not too many connections, right? There is like this wallet here, wallet number 32, which has sent to Ethereum to 4 other wallets, to 4 other addresses, and this is why they're forming this little cluster. And at first glance, you might think, all right, this is looking pretty good. There are not too many connections here between those holders. I mean, there are this little cluster that is only representing 1% of the total supply combined if you sum up all the contribution, all the 5 wallets. But it's pretty reasonable. I mean, 1%, even if that was to be the same guy, that wouldn't be too much of a trouble,
Mm-hmm.
too much of a threat. But now you have to switch and explore other kind of transfers. Like what we're going to do now is focused on Uni transfers between the holders of Uni token. And now all of a sudden, it is not as decentralized as it was before. And I'm not going to jump into the specific of each of those clusters, but essentially to summarize it for you, this is a political battlefield. What is happening here is each of this cluster could be explained as a political party because there's going to be group of addresses that are going to be coming up together to influence the governance in a certain way. Actually, I just want to show you something very cool about this governance because with Bubble Maps V1, you can rewind the tape to a degree. You can see previous snapshots that were taken of this map. And if I rewind the tape 2 years ago, I'm going to go with September 2020. Here is what happened at this time. It was 2 years and a half ago. And this cluster here are all the addresses from A16Z. A16Z is one of the biggest VC out there in crypto, Andreessen Horowitz. And instead of having 4.15% in one address, they have 4.15% splits between a dozen of addresses. And the reason they did this is because they could delegate to other entities in crypto. For example, they delegated to High Reverie, they delegated to blockchain at Michigan, which is a university blockchain, at Columbia University. But the problem is, because they have so much of the supply, 4.15% is just above the quorum of Uniswap, which is at 4%. And if you have more than the quorum, you can pass votes on your own. You don't need to ask anybody else. So from the noble idea of a democracy, we've actually transitioned to an oligarchy, with A16Z being one of the key influencer, being one of the key opinion leader, and a key actual leader of this governance. They can pass votes on their own. So that's an issue that we've said, that we shared last year, and this particular content blew up on Twitter.
What would be the power to be able to vote for one thing or another? How does it benefit A16Z to vote one thing or the other for Uniswap protocol?
And that's a great question. And to give you one example, 2 years ago, when we shared this investigation on Twitter, the particular vote was to have Uniswap on BNB chain. Should Uniswap be available on BNB chain? And the reason that A16Z voted against is because they were, one of their portfolio company was a bridge between BNB and Ethereum. So for them, it was more advantageous that the bridge would be the only one available and that Uniswap wouldn't be on BNB, because that would remove potential volume on their bridge if Uniswap were to be on BNB. That makes sense. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with voting. I mean, inherently, if I were A16Z, I would do exactly the same. I had a lot of funds. I can invest into some governances, so I can influence how the governance is going to work. This is playbook. They're just using their power as they should to benefit themselves. The thing that we're saying here is that those governance are mechanically going to transition to more centralization. Because as soon as you say, the more token you have, the more power you have, mechanically, you're going to have people with huge amount of money who are going to use this to have more influence. This is how the game is played. So, you know, this is the governance issue, not A16Z issue.
Okay, so I get it. Yeah, that's really interesting. But now that we have this information, it's like, I feel like sometime with Bubble Map, I have the information, but it's a bit too late to know if I'm going to invest or not in the token. And then it doesn't mean that the token is not going to go up or it's going to go down, depending on what we saw.
So now, I think in this specific scenario with Uni, it's not a trading decision. You're not going to make a trading decision based on what is going to be the vote from A16Z, because at the end of the day, they're not selling their tokens. A16Z, if I rewind the tape, you know, like 10 months, if we move forward, you can see the wallets are still here. They didn't sell in the process. So sometimes Bubble Map is more of a research tool, not only a trading decision tool.
Yeah.
It is if you focus on meme coins, because if you focus on meme coins, and if you see a huge control token, then potentially you could say, all right, I'm not going to invest here because the token is going to dump all the supply that belongs to the same group or entity. At some point, they're just going to dump all their supply at once on my head, and I'm not going to be able to sustain it. So then you can say, all right, I'm not going to invest. On the opposite, if you see that the token is very distributed, maybe you could decide, all right, it seems to be pretty safe and it seems to be organic, so I'm gonna invest. Now it's
I'm not 100% sure on that for meme coins. We will probably talk about it later, because I think we can do the devil advocate in both cases, as humans react under emotions. But actually, that's interesting, because you built a tool at the beginning that was mostly for EVMs, Ethereum-based chain, for like I would say I don't want to use the word legitimate project because we can question that when we saw the launch of Satoshi VM. That was actually a beautiful playbook on Bubble Map. But now we see that the market came up a lot more with not something that have a purpose, especially, but like just meme coins. And how did you see this evolution in the market?
Meme coin has definitely been the strongest narrative for a month. Actually, there's been a paper from Binance, super interesting. They were discussing this new meta of high FDV, low flow tokens and how it is a detriment to the industry. And in this paper, they were comparing the performance of assets on a year-to-date basis based on which category the token belonged to. If it was an AI token, DePIN
Mhm.
token, whatever narrative. Bitcoin was a separate narrative. And the number one performing asset was meme coin. The
All
reason,
right, thank you
in
for the
my
interview.
thank you, mic drop, thank you. And by a significant margin, it was like 5x on a year to date, and the second was AI with 2x.
Yeah.
So meme coin is outperforming everyone, and I think the reason is because people now understand that VC-backed tokens are also underperforming. Why? Because
Mm.
how a VC-backed token works is VC get allocations at a very low price, and then they get tokens on a vesting program. The thing is, when the tokens skyrocket at launch, the buying pressure from the retail is never going to be sustainable enough to absorb the selling pressure from the VC on the long term. So the VC-backed tokens eventually all look like this. There is a spike at launch, and then it's a slow bleed over time.
Mm.
And especially because the initial market cap is so high and the pump makes it reach billions, the retail is never going to sustain a selling pressure at launch that is
Yeah.
worth billion market cap. It is mechanically impossible.
How
So the
do they
retail
launch at
gets
such a
wrecked.
high market cap, actually?
That's a good question. I think it gets inflated. I think like crypto is a bubble on its own, and we're all collectively convinced that if you're a project building crypto, having a billion market cap is normal. It's not the case. If you focus on
Mm.
equity valuation, billion is a unicorn. It happens so rarely that we call it a unicorn. In crypto, every token is $1 billion market cap with zero revenue and zero monthly revenue. It's just not complete nonsense. Because
Yeah.
crypto is a global financial market without borders that allows anyone to invest from Europe to America to India to Southeast Asia, all of a sudden you have this huge volume of capital. That is not the case in equity. That's why those billion in market cap have become the norm, but it shouldn't be, I think. It shouldn't be the norm. And this paper from Binance that I mentioned was actually addressing this very point. Now, the reason why meme coins are working more is because people are like, yeah, I don't want to be an exit liquidity for VCs anymore. I want a game that is more fair to a degree. And meme coins, I mean, they're not exactly fair. There is insiders and there is people that knows ahead of everyone. But to a degree, this is more transparent than VC-backed tokens, where you don't know who invested, you don't know how much they invested, what was the price of their investment. When they sell on an exchange, so there is no on-chain data. And although we're very much with bubble maps, we've been pretty aggressive towards a lot of meme coins and exposing them to a degree. We also said multiple times that it's much more of a fair game than VC-backed tokens. So
Yeah.
give us some credits. We have a nuanced approach when it comes to investigating those
Yeah.
meme coins. We investigate them because we can. We cannot invest
Yeah.
VC-backed tokens. Nothing is on chain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and one more point, Antoine, and this will be my final point. In regard to meme coins, I think it makes people dream more because we see all these millionaires overnight, people that invested $50 that becomes 1 million. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's gambling. It is gambling, but all crypto tokens are gambling to a degree, even serious tokens. And I think people are more dreamer when it comes to investing into meme coins. They dream more. It's funnier. It's more
Yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, of course, yeah. It's gambling, but there's no the house is not rigged on one side or the other. Like you get everything, and then it's just player versus player mostly, and then the more player
Sure.
comes in, then you'll be good. But then, like like meme coins are pretty new in a way, because like the previous bull market we had just like 3 or 5 meme coins, and now we really have this culture of meme where it's like whatever memes come on the internet become a meme coin, and people can bet on how long the joke will go. How did you guys adapt from analyzing project that promote that they have a utility, because we could discuss that, and then to like, all right, now it's meme coins. How did it change the on-chain analysis?
Actually, it's the perfect use case for Bubble Map. Meme coin is the perfect use case because, as I said before, everything is on chain. So you can see all the wallets. There is no exchanges with 30% of the supply where you cannot see who were the initial depositors. How many people are, when you see a big wallet from an exchange, a big hot wallet, who is hiding behind? Is someone holding 50% of it? Or is it split between thousands and thousands of holders? Are those holders connected together? You don't know because it's a collection of funds. So as soon as there is a centralized exchange in the game, all of a sudden you lose so many precious on-chain information. So no, meme coins are the perfect use case for Babmap because everything is on-chain, so you can see everything that happens, every insider, all the team wallets, all the VCs, all the activity is visible. Personally, whether it is meme coins or VC-backed tokens, we don't really care that much. It's the same game. You see the holders and you see how they're connected. And based on the connection, you can have an educated guess on what's the behavior behind the cluster. So for us, it's the same game. But it's a game where essentially there is more transparency. So we are able to give more insights. And recently on Solana, it has been, we've covered the Nero tokens, whether it is on Solana or Ethereum. I'm happy to jump on this topic. And we've also been able to see how much has been sold from the initial buyers, whether it's insiders or the team or snipers or the dev, whatever you want to call it. We've been able to see exactly how much they're selling. And it has been very exciting. There is also this discussion
please show
on...
it. Actually, it's a good one to study, because the one that had the bubble map with the highest connection is the one that also had the market cap that went the highest. So it's like it kind of raised the question in me, is like, if I'm using bubble map as a trading to help me in a trading decision, how can I know? Actually, I had someone asking a question on Twitter. It says, I've suffered rugs that bubble maps couldn't filter or detect, and I have faded tokens that bubble maps consider to be rugs, especially the ones with clusters. On a scale of 1 to 10, bubble map had me 5. Is there something the dev are missing? What went wrong? How could it be improved? So maybe some people don't know how to read everything, so it would be good to clarify.
No, absolutely. So there are two separate questions here. One is, how do you use bubble maps to get a trading decision? And the second is, on a philosophical level, is supply control a good thing or not? Right?
Yeah.
Bubble maps is an analytical tool. It shows you on-chain data. It is not wrong. It's never wrong. If two bubbles are connected, it means they have sent each other tokens. Now, us personally at Bubble Maps, we believe that it's never wrong to tell you exactly what's going on, to tell you exactly how much of the supply is being owned by the team and how much they've been selling. Some people, when we posted the thread about, because you mentioned Nero on ETH, you didn't say Nero on ETH, but you said one of the tokens that you called out has been performing. Well, it is true. They are performing quite well for now. But like out of the hundreds of tokens that we called out for having a controlled supply, 99 are dumped to zero. So the fact that we're calling out Nero on ETH now for having a controlled supply, and the fact that they're working now, doesn't mean it's going to hold for the long term. Because eventually, when things turn south, the 70% of the supply that were sniped initially at launch, if they decide to dump on your face, you're gone. You're out. You're out of the game, and you're going to be exit liquidity for them. So that's point number one. But
it's the same case on Solana, right? It's pretty much the same on Solana with the the one that had more bubble map cluster went higher, but now dumped lower actually than the
Uh,
older one.
you know, you know. So I think eventually at Bubble Maps we have our opinion on what is
Yeah.
going to be best for a token. We have our opinion, but it's our opinion. People can
Yeah.
have their own opinion. Some people say now it has become a meme on Twitter. Like every time we fund a token, it's going up. Supposedly, it's what they say. Like, oh, PubMap fund is bullish. Sure, then
Mm.
go invest into every token that has a controlled supply and see your return on investment, and then talk to us in 1 month. I think you'll be displeased.
Is it an assumption, or you guys actually made a spreadsheet and saw that on all the cluster tokens you study?
Hold on, I think I lost you for a second. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, I said, is it an assumption that 99% of the cluster tokens goes down to whatever it is, almost zero, or is it something that you actually followed and then you have a spreadsheet and you saw the data?
I have a spreadsheet. I wanted to post this as a tweet, but I was like, yeah, people are going to be mad, and it's going to be another heated moment for Bubble Up. So okay, let's keep this for later. But we have actually a spreadsheet of all the tokens we've called out on Twitter and their
Can we
return on
see it?
investment.
Can you show it here?
Of course. So okay, this is a little bit of an alpha, and it's more of a fun thing. Don't take this too seriously. But essentially, if you check the list of the tokens that we've called out, since the middle of the year, we didn't go too far out. But you can see that the majority of these tokens, they went to zero. On average, geometric average, minus
Mm.
84%. Some exceptions being
Ah.
Neuron, ETH, CatDog, actually, I think dumped a little bit in the meantime. I have to double check this one. Wolf and Mother were
Mm.
holding up pretty much. But Mother, we call that very early in their history. And actually, there was not supply control. This is actually interesting. Mother was not supply controlled, on the opposite of all those other coins. So
How
it's
so? Like, what do you mean by Mother was not supply control? There was a cluster, but how do you
so
label
on
it then?
Mother, so on Mother essentially, when we did our investigation, what we found was that the original cluster, they already dumped all of their supply. So our initial cluster
Ah, yeah,
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the cluster already sold for 2 million and they sold all their bags. And later on, after this cluster was gone, it was left with a very distributed, healthy distribution. And this
Mm.
is why then the token was, managed to perform quite correctly, if I would say so myself. So that's the whole point. Once a cluster is out, once the initial supply control has sold, then you're left with a pretty healthy game potentially. And that's why now there's this new meta on meme coins, which is to CTO a coin. CTO a coin
Yeah,
means once the insiders are out, once the dev is out, meaning
yeah,
once the control supply is out, then you can
yeah,
transition to a healthy token. That's it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
people are saying supply control is good, but at the same time, they're saying we should CTO once the dev is out, then we should start building on top of the coin. So you cannot
yeah,
have both. You have to pick a side. That's the thing.
yeah. That's why now we have to fake CTO.
And now
That's the
and now
game.
people are faking CTO. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware of this.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know to this day. Like, I have so many tokens in mind where the supply is pretty much controlled by few entities, and they do well because it's controlled by that. And then when it's too spreaded, I feel like if the supply is spread too thin, then we are left with a lot of retail people that are going to sell under emotion if the market is going down, and then they dump in right away. Like, for example, Brett on Base Chain, we know that there was a whitelist. We know that most of the supply is held by just few wallets, and that kind of like helped to hold the support, because at the end of the day, like, those people, they give what the market wants. The market wants to see green candle, and they want to see high market cap and something stable. So they have this
Sure.
feeling. So we see that. And then I would say same for Retardio. Retardio, like, because it's a cult coin, we see the
Yeah.
biggest holders, they don't sell. They just don't sell. So they're holding on their coins. And then those guys can choose, like, when they start to sell, then it's gonna impact the market. I feel
Sure.
like, I mean, meme coins are fascinating because it's not only like it's the best use case we can have for crypto to see the tokenization of everything and to see actually the voting power, because the voting power will be here with like how much you're going to push this token on Twitter, how much you're going to buy and sell, the CTO, like all those organization, like if you join a token, there's always like a kind of a democracy going on, but then there's also
Yeah.
like all the buying and selling going on behind it. So it's like on the, it is going to be philosophical, but like, what is your opinion about like what would be the best case for a coin? Do you think it
Sure.
is spread it around 100 people owning 1% or different distribution?
Look, whether we believe that supply control is good or bad, we might have our opinion here at Bubble Maps. That's one thing. What I believe intimately, though, is the fact that the way that supply control is done today is not the right one. Because what they do is they snipe 70% of the supply, and then they try their very best to obfuscate it, to make it as hard as you can to actually understand and realize that the supply is controlled. If supply control is so bullish, and if you're so intimately confident that it's going to be a good thing for your token, why are you trying so hard to hide it? That's the whole discussion we had recently with Nero on ETH. Nero on ETH, there was 80 wallets or 70 wallets that both sniped at launch around 80% of the supply, 77% to be precise. And then what they did is they split their supply into 350 wallets. Those 350 wallets then sold the tokens in very tiny amounts every time, like transactions below 1,000 or 1,500 on average. And each of those wallets had like thousands of transactions in total. Sorry, in total, there was thousands of transactions. Why do you need to go that far, to go in such length, to hide the fact that you own that much if you believe this is bullish? My point, and the thing, my belief and my conviction is that if supply control is a good thing, you should then do it correctly. You should have it like between 5 and 10 wallets for security reasons, because you don't want to have everything in one wallet. I can understand this. Then having all the supply, all those wallets locked in smart contracts, vested, so you can only receive maybe a couple of percent every month. And this way you're transparent. Everybody knows how much of the supply you own. Everybody knows how much you're selling. And this is better for the industry as a whole. I keep hearing these arguments of people saying supply control is bullish for the future of the token because Brett worked very well. 80% of the supply was controlled, and then the token reached billions, or reached the top 100 coins. But the thing is, like, the way that it's done today is so shady, so suspicious, that you're actually saying to young men that are investing in crypto, invest into scams, because you know one day they could reach billions in valuation, and this is not healthy for the space. Instead, we should say collectively, okay, let's agree that supply control is good, but you should do this in such a transparent way that then we all know what's going on with your token. And this way, if the token rugs, we can say the token is rugging, the supply control is being sold, and this is better. That's my whole point. Let's be transparent with the decision we pick. Is it clear?
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Thing is, today we don't have the tools to do that, and most meme coins are launched just like on pump fund, and it start directly with a gambling or not. It's like, is it going to make it to the next level? But that level of vesting and everything will require to have people sitting in a room making the decision and proposing, okay, like we're going to do a vesting on this, and probably in 1 year or less, we're going to see this happening, I hope. But then that will be then the next level of what's happening. Because at the end of the day, I think like there's a part of the information that people want to see and they don't want to know, and then they don't want to see. For example, like if you buy an iPhone, like you want to know what it's going to do. You don't want to know like how did they get the cobalt to put it in the phone, like how much did it actually cost to produce the phone versus how much you're buying it. So there's always like a gap between what people should see, want to see, and actually what is needed for them. But I think at the end of the day, I agree with you as well. I wish we could be just saying right away, all right, I'm going to own 40% or 70% of the supply, but it's for good because you guys can just buy this coin, go on holidays in France, and
Yeah,
I'm going to work my ass off with the team here producing designs. We're going to push
sure.
them. We're going to work with X and Y, and that's the thing as well. However, meme coins is changing on this too, so it's a challenge because meme is uncontrollable. We can't
Yeah.
control what's happening to memes. And
I
if we
mean,
saw before, the Pepe, the Brett, and all that, now we have the memes that are really web based.
absolutely. It's actually quite funny because with the V2 of Bubble Maps, we can rewind the tape for any token and see how they all
Okay.
started. Even a token that started before Bubble Maps existed. And we did this for
Mm.
Pepe. We rewinded the tape for Pepe all the way back to the inception.
Pepe on
And we found
Ethereum, right?
PP on Ethereum, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we found that 40% of the supply was controlled initially. They all sold in the meantime, don't get me wrong. They were all dumped. But yes, it's quite funny to see that tokens I would say the majority of the tokens that succeeded, they started by being controlled supply, or they started by being uh, heavily controlled and potentially scams. But the way
Yeah.
that then they exploded make it so those initial insiders, they dumped everything. And then the token
Mm.
became a meme, became part of the culture. And that did not
Yeah.
belong to them anymore. It was removed from them. Like Pepe become part of the
That's the
crypto
best. Yeah.
culture.
That's
And
the best.
that's the best thing you can hope for a token. But you
Yeah.
know, at BabMaps, we have conviction. We're not like a pure analytical tool that just provide data and you do whatever you want with it. We're an analytical tool, and we also have conviction on how the space should move forward. And I think we have every right to share our opinion, like everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always funny when you guys post the Boba map and they say that you guys get paid to fund or that you're
Brother,
lying, and I'm like,
I
it's
wish I'd get paid. We do this for free, man.
yeah, that's the thing. It was so funny. Like same when I posted the video on Nero, I show that it was launched with a bundler, and then that's why it works so well. And then people were saying, "Oh, you're just jealous because you don't have the token." And say, "I don't care.
Bro, I
People are
mean,
gonna buy my bundler as well, so it doesn't matter."
every time you get personal with someone else's bag, you're gonna get into some troubles. You're gonna get insulted. You're corrupted. You bought the other token. That's why you say what you're saying. And people hardly I'll have a hard time believing, or maybe they just don't want you to fight their back, so they're come up with every conspiracy theory
Yes,
possible.
yes,
Which is
yes,
understandable.
yeah.
Maybe I would do the same in their position. Like, oh, there is this guy fudding. Let's try to come up with any excuse, any rational excuse on why he's doing what he's doing.
Oh,
We never got paid by anybody. The reason
yeah,
we're doing all this thread is because first thing, it's the best form of marketing for Bubble Maps, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Everybody knows Bubble Maps now through this content. So that's point number one.
yeah.
And also because we have conviction, as I said, and we want to guide people on what we believe is the healthier for the industry, the healthiest.
How did you get the idea of Bubble Map? Actually, I think it's quite like an innovation on the market.
So the way that we got this idea, it's kind of it goes a way back because initially I started crypto in 2017 as an investor myself, and I invested into some meme coins. You know, I think meme coin is the gateway entry for people now in crypto, but it was the case before as well to a degree. It was not meme coin, but it was lower cap tokens. But I quickly got bored of it because I think if you're only investing into meme coins, you're not learning a lot of skills. It get capped pretty quickly, and I think I needed to upgrade my character more. So I launched a startup in crypto in 2018, which was an off-chain data analytics, meaning you can think of it as a coin market cap that didn't work out back then. And it was a dashboard with many different metrics. And one of these metrics that we had in this previous startup was a bubble map that we called the cluster map. And this cluster map showed how the coins were connected, not the wallets, the coins. So you had Bitcoin, you had Ethereum, you had Litecoin, you had Ripple. And then you might wonder, what does it mean to be connected when Bitcoin is connected to Ethereum? Like, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
actually, the rules that we had back then was if two bubbles were connected, it means that the price was correlated. So it shows the network of correlation in price between the coins. And the result
Mm.
was completely useless. Everybody was connected to Bitcoin because we all
Yeah.
know that when Bitcoin pumps, everybody pumps. And when Bitcoin dumps, everybody dumps. So we managed to prove visually what everybody already knew intuitively, which is the fact that Bitcoin drives the market. So this idea was very uneventful. And a couple of months later, we decided to bridge to on-chain data because we thought this was way more interesting. And we thought, okay, what could we do in regards to on-chain data? And then we realized, oh, this cluster map could actually be applied to tokens instead of being applied to the whole crypto space. And this is why and when the idea of bubble map suddenly came in.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
So instead of being
I mean,
coins, it's
yeah,
addresses that are holding a specific token.
yeah. Actually, what kind of token? Like, some people are asking because they say like, what can be untraceable transfer between wallets that you wouldn't see on Bubble Map?
So I want to make one thing very clear before we start this discussion. Bubble maps is always improving, and scammers are always going to get smarter. So it is a game of cat and mouse. It's never going to be perfect. Like any software, right? Like any how do you say this in English? Antivirus. I'm not sure how to say this. Malware,
Malware.
anti-malware, like anti-malware tool. I don't know how to say this in
Yeah,
English. I'm not sure, but you get my point.
yeah,
So it's a game of cat and mouse. Right now, the way BubMap works is very straightforward. You take the holders of a coin. If those holders have sent each other funds, whether it is Solana or Ethereum or USDC or stablecoins or the token itself, they are going to be connected. But of course, because those rules are pretty straightforward, there are actually ways to sneak under the BubMap's radar. For example, let's say I'm an address and I have 100 billion worth of a token. 100, let's keep it simple. I have 100 tokens. And I send 50 tokens to address A and 50 tokens to address B. As a result, the initial address is empty because it has sent half to one and half to the other. The two remaining addresses are not connected together because they receive tokens from this intermediary, from the initial wallet. But because the initial wallet has been emptied in the process, the two remaining bubbles that are on the map are not connected. They appear disconnected. So sometimes it can happen that on a bubble map, some bubbles are not directly connected, but in fact, they're connected through an intermediary that is not visible on the map. So that's one way not to be seen on bubble maps. And the other way is you actually snipe a token with 100 wallets that are not connected together because let's say they received Solana from a centralized exchange. And then you snipe with those 100 wallets. As a result, those 100 addresses are not connected, but they bought the token and they should be connected. In fact, on the bubble map, they should be, but they're not. So in order to fix this, we're implementing two things on the V2. One is we're adding second degree, third degree, fourth degree, 5th degree connection. So if two bubbles are connected through 3-degree connection, even if this intermediary is not on the map, they're still going to appear connected directly, right? So that's point number one. Point number two is temporal analysis. If 10 wallets bought a token at exactly the same time, the same second, and they were funded with the same amount of salt from the same exchange, they're going to be connected. We don't care if they're not connected through salt transfer. They're connected in a behavior way. So they're still going to appear as a cluster. So that's two quick fixes that we're doing. And already this is going to make the life of the scammer very hard.
Yeah. They always say like, I don't know if you heard about this expression, but the dev is French. Where it's like always
really?
The dev is French. Yeah.
What does it mean? Like, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's pretty, I mean, it's really a good thing. It's a bad thing. And then it's like French dev apparently, I discovered that recently as well, but like have this they're usually scammers. Apparently, they're usually scammers. And
Okay.
I think it's because French people like to be sneaky. I think that's why. So they will find a way. And then you say the dev is French is not a good sign. It's not a good
Oh,
sign.
but man. All right. Well, hopefully we'll I'm not sure people realize that Bubble Maps is from French devs, so we're
Yes,
tr
that's right.
I guess redemption is possible. Let's hope for redemption
Yeah,
for the French devs.
yeah, that's funny. I mean, it's a lot of the same work that we saw on airdrops, because airdrops now are kind of dead because they've been farmed the hell out of it, and then they were trying to get Sibyl, okay, to see like this wallet is connected, they get the same behavior here, they got funded by the same thing, they're connected. They tried a lot, and then I think that's why the game of airdrop like just like kind of like is nowhere now because of this.
Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, we got contacted by some of the biggest company in crypto to make Sibyl detection. So I completely understand why they're doing it. Because as you said, the game is rigged. And now people farming airdrop are no users anymore. They couldn't care less about your game or your token or
Yeah,
what you do.
yeah,
They're just here to get the airdrop, and they're going to find very sneaky, clever way to get the majority of your airdrop. The way they do this usually is they create thousands and thousands of wallets, and then those wallets artificially play the game, and they're going to get the airdrop. But the thing is, eventually, those addresses are going to be connected in some way. Whether it is they got funded from the same exchange at the same time, or once they take the airdrop, usually they funnel it back to one singular deposit address. So eventually you can find Sibyl attackers, but it is a
too
long
late.
process. Too
Yeah,
late, yes. And it is not exact science. But if you discover it afterwards, still to a degree you can improve your process and you can learn from it. But yeah, if you discover it after they send the funds to an exchange, you're pretty much
yeah,
fucked.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I know some people who've been farming and then it's just unstoppable. Like even if they put like the KYC, so people like to verify their identity, they just bought KYC. Like it's just like they would do.
Of course.
It's. I mean, we saw that in video games back then. If you played any video games online, then there was some farms trying to get as many coins as possible, all the weapons and stuff like that, and reselling it on another market. So like
Yeah,
every game, everything. That's why there's a word farming. It's like you find something and you just rinse and repeat.
sure. And I think crypto has just put this on another level entirely.
Yeah,
Like now it
yeah,
has become the
yeah,
games of countries. Countries are farming. It's not only people. It's like, which is understandable because there are some poor country where those airdrop are a fortune, and
yeah.
it's a huge opportunity for them. So that's understandable. There's one thing I wanted to touch upon as well is because we were talking about Bubble Map and it how potentially some people are trying to bypass it or sneak under the radar. Recently, we've integrated on many platforms on Solana. Like Bubble Maps is on Palm.fun, it's on Photon, it's on Trojan, it's on Rigbot. It's also integrated on some of the biggest platforms right now. You'll see very soon. But I think the reason it's integrated is because it's becoming a new standard. It's becoming a new standard to check the bubble map to make sure the supply is not distributed. And I'm super happy that checking the supply is becoming a thing. It was not a thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you were frozen. It was not a thing 6 months ago or a year ago. Nobody was checking the supply. So the fact that people are talking about it, the fact that people are trying to be sneaky and to bypass bubble map is already a sign that we're moving in the right direction. It means that supply control is actually now a debate. I truly believe that Bubble Map is the company that put the discussion on the table. We're the reason why people are talking about supply control. Because
Hmm.
before Bubble Maps, nobody even knew supply was controlled. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
So nobody talked about it. But now everybody talked about it on a philosophical level because we brought it up in such an obvious way that people are forced to talk about it as a matter of fact. Because if you don't talk about it, you're suspicious. So I
Mm.
guess we could have this give us also the credit of having put this discussion forefront in the space.
Yeah. That might be in an extensive way we moved away from all the VC funded projects and went more into meme coins as investors, because we were like, why am I playing this game? Like when Satoshi VM went out or stuff like that, like it was always a shit show. There's just no other words. It was like, what's going on? Like, and then there's no control. So I guess
Yeah.
that's probably another reason. I mean, like, I don't know, and I want to have your opinion on where do you think the market is going to go in the next 6 months, and then after, if you can reply, in the next 3 years.
Well, that's a very tricky question. As an analytical provider, and that's the very cool thing about what we do, we don't really care where the market is going. We're just going to go with the flow. We never run out of content. The market provides us with the content. We were not expecting 6 months ago Celebrity to suddenly launch tokens. We were not expecting Jason Derulo, Iggy Azalea, Andrew Tate, Caitlyn Jenner, Sean Kingston to launch tokens, but it provided us with so many interesting content, and it allowed us to talk about so many important discussions and bringing up important discussions in the space. And if meme coins is going to still be a trend in the next 6 months, we're going to talk about meme coins. If suddenly governance happens to be the number one narrative, we're going to talk about governance. If all of a sudden the Ton blockchain explodes, personally, I'm very bullish on Ton. I think this is an incredible ecosystem because Telegram has 400 million daily active users, which no other digital product can brag about. We always talk about bringing Web2 people to Web3. I think Telegram is best positioned to do it. If suddenly Ton blockchain becomes huge, we're going to make bubble maps available on Ton. So we're following trends and we're bringing analytics, easy to understand analytics to people. That's our mission. Wherever the market moves, even if it's a direction that we didn't anticipate or if it's a direction we didn't like, maybe supply control is still going to be much of a thing and it's still going to be obfuscated and it's going to be the norm. Well, we're going to talk about it.
There's a high chance. There's a high chance.
There is a chance. There is a chance it's still going to be the norm moving forward.
Do you think people like when the dev get rich? So the dev, like the one who launched the meme coin, get rich because he launched the right meme coin?
Do I think people like it?
Yeah.
I don't think they do. No, I think they would prefer get rich themselves. It's PvP.
So then if you think that way, if you're the guy who's going to put the effort to go in, it's the same as like if you go shopping, do you want to know how much like the shop actually bought the product for? And then you see the price and it's like, no, I don't want that. I think like, I don't know where it's going to go. I hope it would go in more fair, more clear way. But I know that as human, we don't want to see all the reality that is in front of us. Like if I go into Louis Vuitton shop and then I see, all right, that's how much they spend actually to build the bag, and that's how much they spend on marketing. So you want to buy the bag. Yeah. If you see that, I'm not sure they're going to make many sales.
No, I get you. But the thing is with when you go to a Louis Vuitton bag, they are in no obligation to share the information with you. It's their business. They do whatever they want with it. In crypto, because on-chain data is public, we have an opportunity to have this information available.
Exactly, so,
I think the difference is because we have the chance, why not use it? That's the whole point of bubble maps. That's why we do it. Now, if people are not happy about what we uncover, that's fair. And we get our fair share of threats and insults and whatever. I don't really care, to be honest. I don't care. We're still going to expose some of the tokens and do what we do.
Yeah.
And that's the game. And then people can, based on what we find, they can make their own decisions. Some people are going to say, oh, bubble maps is flooding. It's bullish. Oh, sure. Go invest. You're an independent man. You can do anything you want based on our decision, or based on not our decision, based on the facts that we present. If you think this is bearish, then you sell. Whatever. Do anything you want. There is this information. We want to present it to you in a way that is digestible. That's it.
So you actually mentioned Ton, which is an interesting topic because I think it comes back in crypto pretty much every 2 months. I see that coming back. Like they have a lot of users. and then it's one of the core messaging platform for crypto, if not the core messaging platform. So are we going to see Ton taking over?
Definitely.
And I heard a lot about Ton having clusters, like a lot of the supply owned by a certain amount of people. I haven't studied
Yeah.
it, so did you see anything on your side?
You know why you haven't studied it yet? Because Bubble Maps is not available on Ton. So there is no easy way
Exactly.
to study this. But I mean it. It's not even a joke. People cannot actually see if there are huge clusters on Ton because Bubble Map is not available on Ton. But I've heard the same. I've heard that Ton is controlled too. I didn't check. I'm not too familiar with the Ton chain and how it works. I'm a huge believer in Ton as a Web3 onboarder because there are so many Web2 people on Telegram. But yeah, I guess like any token that is still very relatively new, because Ton is still pretty new to a degree, it's going to be in the hands of a few people. I believe potentially Durov might own a fair share of the Ton supply.
Mm,
It's
mm,
only my educated guess, but it's going to be certainly interesting to investigate Ton, not only Ton, but also other tokens that are built on the Ton chain. There are plenty
yeah.
of tokens now on Ton. Like Notcoin was a big thing a couple of months ago, and NFT on Ton as well. May I remind you
Yeah.
that handles on Telegram are actually NFT on Ton, which is super interesting. Like you can buy
Mm,
handles on Telegram through an official marketplace that is called Fragment. It's
yep.
so cool that you can do this. You cannot do this on
Yeah.
Instagram or Facebook or I don't know, whatever, Twitter. The handle
Hmm.
marketplace is so shady. But there is
Yeah.
actually an official one on Telegram. It's so great. Like they're embracing Web3. I love it.
Actually, there's a guy that offered me to sell the Twitter handle handsome for $8,000, and I was like,
Oh, they
"What?"
wanted to sell it to you, handsome,
Yeah.
on
So
Telegram or
like
Twitter.
on Twitter, on Twitter, on Twitter.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty. I'll consider it. I'll
Yeah,
consider it.
I'm considering it. I was like, I'm not sure, like, because at least I have the congruency. Like, my handle is the same everywhere, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, and stuff like that. So I don't know,
Sure.
but I was like, yeah, that's a cool one. But yeah, and he told me it's pretty shady on Twitter and X. Like,
Yeah.
even if you sell the handle, they will have like some sniper that will try to take the handle in between. So you need to go through special companies that will switch the handle for you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And it's the same on Instagram. Like if you wanna, because the only way to actually change your handle on your Twitter account would be to actually, for a split second, having the handle available out there, so you can actually switch. So you would need
Hmm.
to change the handle awesome to whatever, and then on your own account, pick awesome as the new handle. But yeah, there are people who are sniping cool handles with algorithm, like sniping coins, and they were gonna sneak it under your nose. So no, yeah, it's a rough game.
Yeah, it is. It is. And now that you have all the data to analyze all those coins, are you actively investing into meme coins?
No, I'm not investing into meme coins because, as I said, I started by investing into meme coins, but then I realized that building a company and growing the team and fundraising is so much more fulfilling and interesting, and it's not as empty as investing into meme coins. So, I mean, from time to time, I put once 5 SOL into some tokens, but it's like I'm very not attached to it anymore. If it goes to
Yeah.
zero, it goes to zero.
Yeah,
I'm,
but
you know,
that's
I'm
how
not
you should
selling.
play with meme coins. Like you should,
Maybe.
that's how it should be. Like it should be like, it's okay. I'm going in that because I believe the joke will last, but I know the joke can stop any time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I honestly, like, I spend 0.1% of my time investing, which is ridiculous. I don't invest.
Okay. And do you invest in other coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum?
I mean, like everyone else, with the company, we have a bit of BTC, a bit of ETH, bit of
Okay.
BNB, like nothing out of the ordinary. And yeah.
Okay, so just long-term thing. And then we
Absolutely.
start seeing that we will be able to short meme coins. So that's going to be even
Mhm.
better to have the
With
cluster of
Dumpy?
bubble maps. Yeah, there are some other platform I tested that are actually pretty cool. Like I would invite you to test later. Like I think like they have a lot more coins, even more coins that have like $6 million market cap. So that's gonna be interesting to see. I think like the clustering is gonna play both way now. Like you're gonna be
Yeah.
able to take both sides of the bet,
Yeah, you're right.
and it's gonna be even more degenerate.
True. The PvP game is gonna get reckless even more.
Yeah, normally I ask at the end of the interview like what coins are you looking at, but now you tell me you're not really into those meme coin and thing like that. So I'm not even gonna
Not too
ask
much.
this.
But what I can
Yeah.
say is that I'm actually very bullish on the Solana ecosystem. I know on our Twitter it might look like we're actually going hard against some Solana
Mm.
meme coins or etc. But it doesn't mean that I'm not bullish on Solana. I'm very bullish on Solana.
But
I
even
think there's a,
isn't it Solana like quite clustered
you
as
mean the Sol
itself? Like
token?
yeah, the Soul token.
It's interesting because I don't have the bub map of Sol. I only have the bub
Mm.
map of tokens building on Sol as NFT
Yeah.
tokens. I don't have the
Because
bub map
like
of
yeah,
Solana.
like when you see like the launching and the vesting schedule it had, it's mostly I mean it was a chain that was VC backed, so of course you can have the same thing as Bitcoin
Yeah.
and Ethereum, but because then after everything was VC backed or a company backed. So it's interesting as well that actually people don't care. They buy the Solana token even if they know who they're making rich is mostly VCs and insiders that were early on it.
You know what's interesting is usually after a while, if a token survives long enough, there is no clusters anymore because the early insiders, the early adopters, they already dunked. It's so hard
Mm,
to keep a tokens when it has already done a 100x, which is the case for
yeah,
Solana. It has already pumped so hard just before the FTX collapse, and then it dumped to
yeah.
zero. And then all of a sudden it pumped back because of an organic takeover. Maybe Solana was CTO, to a degree.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess this would need further study, but yeah, for sure. I mean, like Solana have a space in the game, I think, for meme coins because, I mean, particularly for meme coins, and maybe as a getaway to onboard more people in crypto. Because I don't know, it feels like all right, you have your Bitcoin, it's your long-term thing, and then after you have all the shitcoinery and the meme coin thing that you do on your Phantom wallet. And like you said, you will put 1 to 5 Sol without thinking too much about it. And I think a lot of people are going to be able to do that without having to do like, oh, I have to read the white paper, which the white paper was written 80% by ChatGPT,
Of
just to
course.
please the investors. So it's like, at least it's a little honest gambling investment, we could say.
I
Any
agree.
last word you would say about bubble map or on chain analysis in general?
Yeah, I would say before investing into a token, it takes literally 30 seconds to check the bubble map and to make your own interpretation, your own educated guess. It has become the reference for a reason. It's because it is very easy, very accessible, very playful, and really recommend you to check it out. Follow us on Twitter as well at Bubble Maps if you like some heated debates, some passionate conversations. And feel free to join our Telegram. It's also at Bubble Maps if you have any questions on a cluster, if you're not sure what it means, because there's always a degree of uncertainty when it comes to a cluster. So we're always here to actually guide you in understanding what it means.
Cool. Thank you very much, Nick. It was really insightful. And well, maybe I will see you when the V2 is out.
Absolutely. Happy to join again. Thank you, Antoine.